The piercing cry of a small child cut through the hum of the bustling city street, freezing Senator John Neely Kennedy mid-bite as he sat at an outdoor cafe, savoring a plate of roasted vegetables and chicken. His fork hovered in the air, the rich aroma of his meal suddenly overshadowed by the desperate plea. "Sir, can I have your leftovers?" Turning his head, he saw her. A frail girl, no more than 6 years old, her dirty dress clinging to her thin frame, her hands clasped together in a gesture that was both a prayer and a plea. Her wide, pleading eyes locked onto his. And in that moment, the polished politician felt the weight of a world he rarely saw up close. The casual chatter of passers-by faded as he set his fork down, his heart twisting with a mix of guilt and compassion. John, a man known for his sharp wit and Southern charm in the halls of Congress, was no stranger to hard stories. He'd heard tales of poverty and struggle during his campaigns, but they'd always been numbers on a page or voices on a phone line, distant, manageable. This was different. The girl's voice trembled as she explained she hadn't eaten since yesterday, her younger brother waiting hungrily in an alley nearby. Her name, she said softly, was Lily, and she spoke with a maturity that broke his heart, as if hunger had stolen her childhood. John's initial instinct was to call over a waiter, to toss a few dollars her way and move on, but something in her earnest gaze held him. He asked her to sit, pushing his plate toward her, watching as she ate with a quiet dignity that made his throat tighten. As Lily ate, John learned more. She and her brother Timmy had been orphaned months ago when their parents died in a car accident, leaving them to fend for themselves. Social services had failed to find them, and the siblings had slipped through the cracks, surviving on scraps and kindness from strangers. John's mind raced. How could this happen in a country he'd sworn to serve? He felt a surge of anger at the system, but also a personal responsibility he couldn't shake. He decided to help, asking Lily to lead, him to Timmy. The alley she guided him to was a stark contrast to the cafe's elegance, dark, damp, and littered with debris. There, curled up against a cardboard box, was Timmy, his tiny body shivering, his face pale and clammy. The sight of Timmy sent a jolt through John. The boy's labored breathing and glassy eyes suggested he was seriously ill, perhaps dehydrated, or worse. Panic crept in as John realized this was beyond his ability to handle alone. He pulled out his phone, his hands trembling as he dialed 911, barking orders for an ambulance with an urgency he'd never felt on the Senate floor. As they waited, John wrapped his jacket around Timmy, whispering reassurances while Lily clung to his arm, her trust in him growing with every passing second. The ambulance arrived with sirens blaring, paramedics rushing to stabilize Timmy, who was quickly diagnosed with a severe infection and malnutrition. They whisked him away, with Lily following, her small hand gripping John's until the last moment. The next few days were a whirlwind for John. He used his influence to ensure Timmy received the best care at a local hospital, staying by the siblings' side as much as his schedule allowed. He faced a personal challenge, balancing his demanding political life with this newfound mission. Colleagues questioned his focus, suggesting he delegate the issue to aides, but John couldn't let go. He saw Lily's resilience and Timmy's fragility as a mirror to his own values, a call to action he couldn't ignore. He dug into the bureaucratic mess that had left the children abandoned, uncovering a backlog in foster care placements and a lack of outreach in their neighborhood. The guilt of his initial indifference fueled his resolve. John's efforts hit a wall when he learned the children's extended family was unreachable and foster care wait lists stretched for months. Desperate, he considered legal guardianship, a decision that would upend his life. His wife, back in Louisiana, supported him, seeing the change in him. This wasn't just a political stunt, but a genuine transformation. Yet the process was daunting, filled with paperwork and hearings. One night, exhausted and doubting himself, John sat by Timmy's hospital bed, watching the boy's slow recovery. Lily, now cleaner and fed, handed him a crumpled drawing of the three of them together, her way of saying thanks. That simple act reignited his determination. With the help of a compassionate social worker, John navigated the system, leveraging his position to expedite the process. He testified in court, his voice breaking as he described the children's plight, winning over a judge who saw his sincerity. After weeks of effort, he was granted temporary custody, a first step toward adoption. The resolution came with a bittersweet edge. Timmy's health improved, but the scars of their ordeal remained. John moved them into his D.C. apartment, turning a spare room into a shared space filled with toys and books, a stark contrast to the alley. The story spread, igniting a public outcry that pressured lawmakers to address foster care inefficiencies. John channeled this momentum into legislation, co-sponsoring a bill to improve child welfare services, a cause now personal to him. By the end, as he watched Lily and Timmy laugh over a homemade meal, John realized the true measure of his power wasn't in votes or speeches, but in the lives he could touch. The experience left him with an inspiring message. Compassion, when acted upon, can rewrite destinies, turning a single act of kindness into a ripple of change that uplifts a nation. For Lily and Timmy, he wasn't just a senator. He was family, proof that even in the coldest systems, a warm heart can find a way.